This is a video I've been trying to make for a while. I've attempted it before. I don't even know if I actually uploaded any videos on it, but people are constantly making videos about like the tropes that they love and the tropes that they hate. And actually, I don't hate a lot of tropes. There aren't a lot of tropes that I hate, although there are. Funny thing is, as I've said multiple times before, I watch as many movies as I read books, and I think I'm better at paying attention to movies and TV shows than I am books, which is why I'm so grateful to Goodreads and BookTube because it has been helping me focus on my books more, um, and focus on things that like bother me about books and things that I love about books and paying attention to the plot and all the details of the plot more. So I decided I don't have that many tropes in here, but I've decided to make it a video about both the tropes I love and the tropes I hate. In books, anyway. Okay, so tropes I love and tropes I hate. First, the tropes I hate. I really hate controlling male characters. Male characters that are possessive and just like very controlling, and that's why, and like are very aggressive, and that's why I'm not a big fan of the dominant male when it comes to the intimate scenes, the sex scenes. I am not a fan of the dominant male character when it comes to that. Although, I do have a friend that does that is into that one because she reads romance novels and she's very much into that kind of scenario. But I don't like possessive male characters. Like that's why I wasn't like when I first read *Court of Thorns and Roses*. I didn't really care about Tamlin. I think that's why I ended up not liking him. I didn't really realize it, but I think that's part of why I don't like Tamlin. He definitely exhibits those kind of traits. But yeah, it just bugs me. It drives me crazy. Male characters that are like that. Amnesia plot lines. I can't stand amnesia plot lines. The plot lines are overused, and and actually, come to think of it, I noticed these more in on-screen stories than book stories than stuff on paper. Well, actually, screen is on paper, but stuff in novels. So this is also in the back of my mind, also thinking about movies and TV shows. But amnesia lines are so overdone, and that was one of the big things about the show Once Upon a Time that really pissed me off, and that's when I started to no longer like the writing, because they used the amnesia plot line, especially with Belle, and that just, I hung on to that show for as long as I could, but then finally, after I finally gave up, but they use that, and it's such an overdone plot device, I get so tired of it. It pisses me off. It's another one that just pisses me off. Okay, the next one, I've mentioned these repeatedly, and this comes from this one repeatedly, and this comes from, mostly from the book Mortal Instruments series. But I like when best friends fall in love. I am a big fan of that trope. But it bugs me when you come to realize that the male best friend of the female protagonist does not stand a chance with the girl because all of a sudden this sexy new mysterious guy shows up and he's totally hot and gorgeous and if it's fantasy he has magical powers and stuff and he's all badass and he's a warrior and he's misunderstood and very brooding and stuff, and I do like those male characters. I'll have a crush on some of them. Like I was a Jace fan. I was definitely Team Clace, and I still like them together, but I just have come to start to like Simon a lot more, and I totally would date Simon. I just feel bad because he did not stand a chance in the book. At least on the show, it looks like he stands a chance. He stood a chance with Clary, and there was definitely chemistry there. It definitely broke my heart though when in the show the whole thing where when they're in the Fae courts or whatever, the kingdom, and the queen of the Fae the queen of the Sealing Court gets Clary to reveal her feelings for Jace. Guy that she's in. So but it just, and and they actually, it's like, I feel like she didn't date, she still kind of just dated Simon because, she couldn't date with Jace because it was real. He was her biological brother. Of course, spoiler alert, he's not. And just, I did not like that, and it bugged me. Because at the time when I first read the series, I was very conflicted, because I was like, no, I want Jace and Clary together. But then now, it just bugs me because the only reason she went out with Simon is because she couldn't go out with Jace. And that drove me crazy. But I was so happy that Simon got Isabel. I'll be right there! I was definitely happy about that. The last one I hate is the first person point of view. I can't stand first person point of view, whether it's written in first person or where, even if it's written, it's not like with I, where the protagonist is talking the whole time, and it's their thought. We are still in their head. Like, Mortal Instruments is not written in first person point of view, but the whole perspective we get is only Clary's. I know it's not written that way, but we still are only in Clary's head. We only interact with the other characters. I mean, although it gets better as the series progresses, but I feel like the only time we're spending time with any of the other characters is when it's from Clary's perspective. I feel like, and the same thing with Harry Potter. Harry Potter was not written in first person, but it was only from Harry's point of view. It was what Harry thought of things, his opinion about people. And and that I feel so limiting, because you have a biased perspective on everything, and you don't know what's going on with all the other characters unless the other person, the protagonist, is involved or knows about it or is there. And it bugs me. And I especially don't like first person when it's in YA contemporary. It's like modern times, it's like 21st century, because sometimes the modern voice can be really annoying. Like, I'm sure to a lot of people my voice is probably annoying. And I'm sure there are people that are annoyed by the things that I would complain about. And it's just, so it's really annoying when I don't mind historical fiction written in first person, though. Because the voice of a woman or a man from a long time ago is a lot different than the modern voice. So it's definitely much more interesting to read about them and to learn about the past and learn about their views and what they had to deal with, what they went through, and what they think about things. Is more interesting than the modern person. Not that modern people aren't interesting, it's just sometimes they annoy me. Okay, so the ones that I love are Best Friends Falling in Love. Like I said, I love Best Friends Falling in Love. It's one of my favorite romantic tropes. I have three types of romances that I usually see, whether it's on screen or in books. And that is love at first sight, which I don't like, which is basically insta love. I mean, I think you can be attracted to the person at first sight, or you can form a connection, but it doesn't mean that you've known them for, 5 seconds and all of a sudden you're in love with them. Or you see them from a distance and it's like, even though you never talk to them, you're still like, oh my god, I love you. Like, that's the only problem. That's what bugs me about Little Mermaid. Even though she spent 3 days with Prince Eric, she is in love with him as soon as she sees him. It's like, you haven't even talked to him yet. What if you don't like him? What if you have nothing in common? What if there's aspects about his personality that you don't like? I mean, I know that's a Disney fairy tale, but come on. And then there's the Best Friends Falling in Love. First let me talk about my number one that I love watching or reading about, and that is the love to hate relationships. Two people who can't stand each other, disagree, and are always fighting with each other like a married couple, but the audience, the reader, and the other characters know that these two are going to end up falling in love. I love those. That is one of my favorite ships. When the characters that don't like each other first, but then slowly get to know each other and then fall in love. I just love those. And there's actually another video where I want to make another video where I talk about one of my ultimate favorite couples who is a prime example of that kind of ship, that kind of relationship. But I will do that in another video. And then the next one is the Best Friends Falling in Love. I love this trope. You got to know each other. You already know things about each other. You just are getting intimate now. And adding the idea of sex and, having and kissing each other and loving each other and being partners, not just like there's an added intimacy basically. And you already know each other, and it's so sweet and so romantic. And that the reason I think why I love that ship so much, not just because I see it as, oh, these people already know each other, so it makes sense, but because that's how my parents fell in love. They went to school overseas, so they went to school on a base. In their class, everybody was friends with everybody at their school. Everybody knew everybody. There were cliques, I believe, at their school. And my mom and dad were friends first. Not like best friends or anything. They had other friends, of course. They were friends first, and then one day they just saw each other in a different light. And I just think it's so romantic. I mean, it's weird sometimes when I ask them about it, but then I usually am the one that asks them about it. But I just think it's so sweet, and I think that's why I've always had a soft spot for that kind of romance. Okay, so the next one I like is female protagonists finding themselves in Europe, particularly in France. Because I think I've always liked that trope because, first of all, I love Europe. I want to live there. I would love to go back there again because I went there back in 2007 because my sister was studying abroad in France. So we got to go there, and, I did a cruise in Europe. I did, we went to Greece and Turkey and, all those places. So I've been obsessed with the idea of going back there and exploring Europe, and who doesn't love Europe? And I've always wanted to do that. So I've always liked books that are set in Europe and that take place in modern contemporary books where people go to Europe and explore Europe and learn about if you watch my previous video of where I talk about what I've read so far this month, I mentioned the memoir by Janice MacLeod, the Paris Letters. I read Revolution by Jennifer Connelly. I've read The Paris Wife by, I can't remember her name, the author's name, but the one about Hemingway's first wife, and his year in France and Spain and stuff like that. And I've read Anthony Doyer's All the Light We Cannot See. The book still takes place in Europe, but it's in Germany. There are a lot of, and I have a story that is basically about the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera called Phantom. Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite movies next to Sound of Music, which is not in France, but it's in Austria, but still Europe. And Austria is just as beautiful, at least according to that movie. Although I'm sure the movie is very accurate when it comes to that anyway, comes to the setting. But I'm obsessed with Europe, especially France. And I've read a lot of books and seen a lot of movies and watched a lot of TV shows about it. Au Pair, Passport to Paris is one of the Olsen Twins movies. Au Pair was a TV movie that was on Freeform before when it was Fox Family, which is which I seem to think about, it's kind of similar to Sound of Music, where it's like this woman becomes a governess to this rich man's bratty children and wins the children over, and then ends up falling in love with their father, even though he's getting married to someone else. So I love those kind of stories, and the other reason is I've always wanted to go to, like I said, I've always wanted to go to Europe on my own, not just France. Actually go there on my own. And me and one of my best friends and I have decided that one day when we're going to go to Scotland and Ireland, and there's a few other places like Austria and France that I want to go to too as well. But our first stop is going to be Scotland and Ireland. So the next one, I kind of already mentioned this, and that is couples that don't like each other at first, but fall in love. The love-hate ships. The ships where two people, they just spend the whole time bickering in the beginning. In the first half of the story, they don't like each other, they don't agree with each other, and then and they're always sniping at each other and fighting and stuff, but then one day they slowly, over time, they progress to where they actually start to get to know each other and look past each other's flaws and things that piss themselves off about each other, and just begin to see each other in this new light. And I think it's so romantic and so sweet and beautiful, and that I just love that kind of romance. It's one of my favorites. Okay, the last one I have here is a little girl that softens the heart of a cold or hard-hearted person, which can go with the other one, the love-hate relationships. Because sometimes the guy is not good with his emotions, and he has a hard heart. I just love the idea of that little child softening the heart, and like the tough guy meets this little girl and gets to know her and connects with her. Or sometimes, not just the little girl, when it's two adults and the woman, softens the heart of the beast, so to speak. One of my favorite movies, kids movies, is All Dogs Go to Heaven. The first one, I think that's a cute movie. And the relationship between Charlie and the little girl, Anne Marie, is just so adorable. Of course, that is just in a movie. And some of these, and like I said, a lot of these, I'm kind of thinking of screen versions of them. But I would love to see it in a book too. So, those are tropes that I love and that I hate in fiction. Like I said, there aren't that many there are more, and there really are more tropes that I love than tropes that I hate. I guess I'm very open-minded. So what tropes do you love and which tropes do you hate? Are there any, or are you like me and there's more tropes that you love than tropes that you hate? And thank you. So anyway, thank you guys for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.